recognize the gentlelady from Pennsylvania, Mary Gay Scanlon, who is the ranking member on the Constitution Subcommittee.
Thank you for convening us today, and thank you so much to our witnesses. I really am in awe of your courage and your dedication to the rule of law, which is what makes our country great. And we all really, really appreciate your willingness to stand up and be counted when it really counts. Over the past few weeks, the White House has unleashed an unprecedented attack upon lawyers and judges who serve our American justice system, with the White House attempting to suppress challenges to the lawless orders that it is issuing. They're threatening and intimidating some of the country's most accomplished lawyers, some of whom are with us here today. Congress under Republican leadership has thus far acquiesced to this lawless behavior. The courts and lawyers are acting as the primary defense against executive action, and doing so successfully in the vast majority of almost 200 cases brought so far. I want to focus on the orders and sanctions issued against private law firms, because that's the world I came out of. These law firms have been selected because of their relationship to attorneys who represented the president's political opponents, opposed his administration's actions, or aided efforts to hold him accountable. These firms and lawyers targeted by the administration have been the standard bearers for the highest ethical obligation of their profession to provide free legal services in the public interest, or pro bono publico. They've been willing and able to dedicate top legal talent to undertake the costly and time-consuming work of ensuring due process in difficult cases, reforming broken systems, and vindicating human and civil rights of those subject to our laws. This administration's attempt to sideline these efforts stands in stark contrast to prior administrations which understood that our justice system only works when everyone has access to representation. And I'm thinking about 1963, President Kennedy's call to action to the most prominent law firms in our country, asking them to marshal the resources of the private bar to protect Americans' civil rights. The Trump administration has chosen instead to undertake a grotesque attack on the fundamental right of access to justice. So while the action of targeting private law firms are designed to hurt those most at risk, those who can't afford a lawyer, and specifically those with the guts to stand up to this administration's blatant violations of the Constitution, due process, and civil and human rights. Now, we've seen the administration's campaign begin to achieve its purpose, intimidating lawyers who might represent those challenging its actions. Some law firms targeted by the White House have settled with the White House. Others that have regularly participated in this kind of class action and other work in the past are declining to do so. This administration is employing the tactics used by authoritarian regimes to crack down on those who defend the rule of law. Places like lawyers, universities, civil society, and the independent media. So now is the time when all lawyers, law firms, judges, law schools, bar associations, and elected officials of every and no party have to stand up and condemn this attack. Because democracy doesn't only die in darkness, it also dies with silence or acquiescence. So I am encouraged by the growing resistance to these actions. And Ms. Cohen, whether willingly or not, you have ended up being a face of that. I understand that you participated in leading a letter that over 1,800 junior lawyers at these prestigious law firms have joined. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Thanks so much. As I stated in my opening testimony, it was not my first choice to resign. I adore my coworkers. I did really meaningful work, both billable and pro bono. And I also expected that firm leadership would do the right thing, not just at my own law firm, but across the industry. And so something that was frankly quite scary was that all of the conversations about what the executive orders were aimed at doing and were doing, everyone agreed across political stripes, across level of seniority, that the president was targeting private law firms in an attempt to scare lawyers broadly. But no one was willing to say anything. And so I worked with a group of a variety of other associates to put together a way that people could anonymously express their concerns about this. We modeled it off a statement that was put out by the American Bar Association, a nonpartisan association, prior to even the Perkins executive order coming out in the first place about these troubling rule of law attacks. And so that was just one of many steps that we took to not reach this point, in the hopes that firms would come together and do the right thing.
I do think it's really important that lawyers and law firms stand together. I mean, after all, it is through having a rules-based order that many of these law firms have been able to be so successful, and the erosion here affects everybody. So thank you. I yield back.